Former Minister for Home and Finance, Mr. P. Chidambaram, has written a new book titled Fearless in Opposition. This book is a collection of all his incisive articles, his columns that he has written for Indian Express all through 2016. We are here to talk to Mr. Chidambaram about this book and about the budget, economy, politics, and more. Thank you for speaking to us, Mr. Chidambaram. Your book is titled Fearless in Opposition. What does the former Minister for Home Finance have to fear even in opposition? Why did you choose this title?
I have nothing to fear, but there are a lot of people who fear the government and its rather dictatorial approach to institutions and individuals. The Dalits live in fear, the minorities live in fear, student activists live in fear, institutions function under fear, individual writers, authors, academics are threatened. So I think the point I was making is that we are in the opposition, you are in the government, but we don't fear you. And I want everyone to believe that no one should fear the government. We should respect the government, but not fear it.
So at the time of the launch of your previous book, based on the articles that you did in 2015, you said 2015 was a year of polarization. How would you characterize 2016, and what do you think 2017 will be like?
2016 was a year in which the economy slowed down, not only because of the external factors, but also because of poor economic management. And then the decisive event of 2016 was demonetisation. It was a terrible blow to the economy. It interrupted the India growth story. Now 2017, the defining moment, I think at least in the first half of 2017, will be the 5 state elections. So I think each year has had its defining moment. 2017, I think, will be the 5 state elections.
So coming to the most immediate event that has happened, which is the union budget. You made a speech in the Rajya Sabha yesterday. And in that speech, you spoke about how the government should have stepped up public spending and should have cut indirect taxes instead of cutting direct taxes. Any suggestions on where the government could have got the revenue to fund these?
You see, they have projected aggressive revenue targets. They may achieve it, they may not achieve it, I cannot say. But the non-tax revenues have not been tapped fully. For example, they have a rather timid disinvestment and privatization of loss-making companies program. They should also collect other non-tax revenues like more user charges. They should cut out wasteful, non-essential expenditure. On the contrary, they have axed expenditure as a proportion of GDP in crucial social welfare programs. I think fear continues to haunt this government, and I think demonetization has only added to that fear.
In an interview today to the Financial Express, the chief economic advisor has spoken about a public asset rehabilitation agency. He has also said that banks would be unable to take a haircut and that private investors would be a part of this agency. Do you think this is a workable idea?
If you can find private investors to invest in this public asset management company, I have no objection, but who will invest? The investment climate has been very, very poisoned by what's happening in the economy and outside the economy. If there are divisions, if there are divisive forces, if there is caste polarization, if there is religious polarization, if there is excesses in violation of human rights, foreign investors will not come to India. They have 180 options to choose from. India is only one option. which is why our rank in the ease of doing business or other ranks does not move up. If you think that the economy is isolated from social events and political events, you're completely wrong. The economy is not isolated. Each one casts its shadow on the economy. Number two, now it's universally accepted that power is concentrated, centralized in one pair of hands, which means unless you get a nod from that person, no minister, no ministry is willing to take a decision. So I think these are the things that are inhibiting private investors. But if the chief economic advisor can find private investors for the proposed body, I have no objection.
On the GST, what do you think still remains to be done to realize the full potential of the change?
Oh, Mr. Dr. Amit Mitra, the Finance Minister of West Bengal, who chairs the State Finance Ministers Council, has flagged 15 items which need to be addressed. Technical issues, tax issues, etc. After these 15 items are addressed, they have to pass 2 bills in Parliament and 1 bill in each of the state legislatures. And then the GSTN must run the GST as a pilot program. You can't introduce it overnight. You have to run it as a pilot program to find out where the glitches are. Once a pilot program runs for a month or so, then perhaps it's possible to introduce it across India. I think GST, with the best of intentions, is not likely to be effective before October 1, 2017. And even that is quite ambitious.
So you've spoken a lot about demonetization or remonetization, whichever way one would put it.
No, it's just what they did. They did demonetization, which was wrong. They're trying to right that wrong by remonetization. So I asked the question in Parliament yesterday, why did you do this? Why did you have to demonetize first and then remonetize later? What's the purpose of this exercise? For which there was no answer.
So you also pointed out yesterday that there has been a very short-term deleterious impact on jobs, on employment, on SMEs.
I didn't say short-term. I said it will be a long-term impact. Once an SME is closed down, it's not easy to open it again. 75% of SMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises, have shut down. You come to any industrial belt, Tirupur, Coimbatore, Pollachi, Hyderabad, Medak, Agra, Moradabad, Kanpur, Jalandhar, Ludhiana. In every belt, the micro, small and medium businesses, both service sector as well as manufacturing, have shut down. Once they shut down, it's not easy to reopen a shut down unit. You will have to renew your credit lines with the bank. You will have to win back your customers who may have gone away to some other supplier of goods and services. You may have to get back your workers who may have left you. I mean, you may have to renegotiate the debt position with the banks. I think there are too many problems once you shut down a factory, which is why you shouldn't lead to a situation where a factory or a business closes down. That's what happened after demonetization.
One of the arguments that the government is making is that it will lead to more compliant behavior as more people would come in the tax net. Do you realistically think that there is a chance of the number of taxpayers increasing and cleaner businesses going ahead?
You see, every year the number of taxpayers does increase. After VDIS, we had a spurt in the number of taxpayers. After IDS, which they did last year, I expect there will be a spurt in the number of taxpayers. But simply to increase the number of taxpayers, you didn't have to do this terrible act. You could have increased the number of taxpayers by other measures. There are other measures by which number of taxpayers can be increased. I don't think that demonetization is the way to increase the number of taxpayers.
And what would you say about the move towards less cash or cashless?
Less cash is acceptable as a goal. Cashless is absurd and a utopia. No society can be cashless. 80% of all monetary transactions in Germany are cash. 80% in Austria, 60% in Australia, 56% in Canada, 50% in France, 46% in the mighty United States are all cash transactions. How do you expect that India, which has 94% cash transactions today, will become cashless? And the second question is, why should I become cashless? Is it not my right to decide whether I will pay in cash or pay by a non-cash method? There are issues of privacy. There are issues of an additional cost if you switch over to a non-cash mode of transaction. It is not free. Someone sitting there, Paytm and e-wallet, and they're making money. They're not doing charity here. So there is a cost to switching over from cash to non-cash. I agree, large transactions, large monetary transactions should be mandatorily made non-cash. But to buy vegetables, fruit, buy an ice cream for your child, buy a ticket in a cinema, to say that this should be cashless is absurd. And it is also an invasion of privacy.
Would the privacy argument then extend to, let's say, asking people to come to the banking channel? Because each time I pay, let's say, the bank knows how much I earn, how much do I pay for my kids' school fees, what else, what other investments do I make? So does the privacy argument then extend there as well?
No, because these are transactions where there is no invasion of privacy. But if a young lady wants to buy lingerie, if an adult wants to buy adult diapers, if I have a serious ailment and I want to buy medicines, those are transactions where there is an issue of privacy.
And so you also spoke about Manrega. So I was reading one of your articles in the book, which spoke about how Manrega was a program where the job of deepening ponds and cutting overgrowths happened. Your articles have also spoken about removing the scourge of poverty from this country. And one of the constant arguments that PM Modi makes is that, hey, this is what I inherited. And lots of Garibi Hatao programs in the past have not worked. So what new would work now?
See, Garibi Hatao programs have worked, some have not worked. But there's no denying the fact that during the 10-year period of UPA, 140 million people were lifted out of poverty through creation of regular jobs, through increasing job opportunities, through increasing opportunities for self-employment, and in a way through Maganrega also. It's for the government to decide which program works and which program does not work. A program that works at a particular time may not work at another time. If you think that Maganrega must be tweaked to create a different set of assets, a different kind of assets, do so. But why did you call Maganrega a monument to the failure of the Congress party, and yet boast in the budget today that you have allocated 48,000 crore for Maganrega? I mean, the two statements don't go together. Either you believe in Maganrega or you trash Maganrega. You can't trash Maganrega in one breath and then in the same breath say we are allocating 48,000 crore to Maganrega. So what is your philosophy? What is your approach to Maganrega?
There was criticism about the role of the RBI in the entire demonetization decision-making process. Two monetary policy reviews have come after that, in which rate reductions have not happened. Do you think, would you change your view on what happened at that time?
No, I'm not surprised. RBI's stature has been diminished in the manner in which it conducted itself in this whole exercise of demonetization. And it remains diminished because it continues to follow an opaque policy on questions raised about demonetization. I was not at all surprised when RBI declined to cut the rates, because this is the only opportunity for RBI to give the world the impression that it is not kowtowing to the government, it's standing up to the government. But that's a rather indirect way of enhancing your own reputation. The government desperately wanted a rate cut, but the RBI said no. And I think the most compelling reason why the RBI said no was it wanted to retrieve its reputation to some extent.
As someone who has watched the global and the Indian economy very closely, how would you evaluate the influence or the impact of Donald Trump in America on global trade? What does it mean for India? And if you were to, let's say, again be in the finance ministry, how would you plan India's economic strategy, trade strategy, keeping in mind what's now happening around the world?
Well, President Donald Trump and his policies will be very disruptive. But he makes no bones about it. He says, yes, it is intended to disrupt the narrative that has gained currency in the last couple of decades. His policies will not be good for world trade. If he also adopts protectionist policies, it will affect India. It will affect our export of goods. It will affect our export of services. It will affect the movement of skilled Indian personnel to the US. It will affect Indians getting H-1B visas. It may even affect Indian students gaining access to US universities. So I think the future is quite challenging. We have to engage with the US, there's no choice, but it has to be an engagement with a mixture of tact and firmness, with the MEA, the Ministry of Commerce and the Ministry of Finance putting their heads together and devising a strategy. In course of time, President Trump may mellow, may change his views. But in the initial years, his policies will be challenging to India.
In the economic survey, we sort of pick a fight with the rating agencies. So there's a special box there which talks about how they have been unfair to.
It is tilting at windmills. Why are you fighting a rating agency? How does a rating agency care whether you pick up a quarrel with them or not? They're not dependent on you. You don't pay them a fee for rating. They're not dependent on your fees. So I think it was a rather bull-headed approach. I think one should have adopted a more nuanced approach, sat down with them privately and talked to them. That's how countries engage rating agencies.
On agriculture, I was listening to your Rajya Sabha speech. You spoke about how money from one head has moved to the agri-credit.
Last year. They moved the interest subvention to agriculture to puff it up. This year they've done it on defense capital expenditure.
You also made a case for MSP hikes.
Yes.
MSP hikes.
Because price is the best signal to the farmer. Everything else you do is secondary. Price is the best market signal to the farmer. If the farmer knows that his produce will get a price, then he will put his heart and soul into producing that vegetable or grain or gram or fruit or whatever. But there are no price signals from this government. In fact, the price signals that came in the first couple of years were completely contrary. They gave the signal that they don't believe in enhancing MSP, and they gave petty, modest increases, trifling increases, which has put off the farmer community.
So I have a follow-up question on that. If I remember right, Dr. Manmohan Singh at a AICC session in Jaipur in 2013 said that not controlling inflation is one of his regrets. And he gave two reasons for that. One was higher oil prices, and the other was higher MSPs for farmers. So would you think that argument still holds?
I don't share that argument. You see, among all occupations, farming is the most uncertain and precarious. No farmer has an assured income. No farmer has social security. And farming is a very precarious activity today, especially with climate change, groundwater going down, cyclones, whatever. Therefore, I think we should not deny the farmer a fair price. Yes, it is a bit inflationary, but we should control other prices rather than ask the farmer to bear the entire burden of inflation control. We should use other instruments and control other prices. Do you control price of toothpaste? The manufacturer decides the price of toothpaste and you pay it. The manufacturer decides the price of hair oil and you pay it. The farmer has no right to determine the prices of his products. That's the way the market is structured. For I would have great sympathy for an argument that farmers must get better prices. If that means the urban consumer must bear a slightly higher burden, the urban consumer must. And other instruments must be used to control other prices to keep inflation down. We cannot put the entire burden of inflation control upon the farming community.
I will now move to some questions on politics. In 2016, you wrote a lot of articles in the Indian Express about dissent, about the need for debate, the room for debate. Your articles also said that it's perfectly legitimate to ask people for loyalty to the Indian Constitution. And slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai do not necessarily or do not at all are not at all a symptom of the loyalty towards the country. Now, as a home minister, as a former home minister, I want to ask you a very practical question in terms of implementation. At what point, you must have taken a lot of action when you were holding that job. At what point of time does dissent become something that threatens the Constitution of India and you decide to take action?
Never, unless it's accompanied by violence. Unless a person who speaks incites people to violence, his speech is fully protected under the Indian Constitution. That's the law of the country. And if people have forgotten that that is the law of the country, it is our duty to remind them again and again and again. It's only speech that incites violence that is prohibited under law.
My next question is on what's happening in Tamil Nadu right now. Your articles also say that you are a great votary of national parties.
No, I said I'm biased in favor of national parties because to keep a federal polity like India together, it's necessary that a national party must helm the government at the center. I have no objection if regional parties rule states, but a national party must be at the helm of affairs at the center. If you need a national party at the center, obviously the national party must have bases in at least half the states of India.
So do you see national parties now regaining a foothold in Tamil Nadu?
It's difficult to say. It depends upon how the national parties project themselves. Tamil Nadu has been under the spell of two regional parties, splinters from one group, for many, many years. Unless the national parties reinvent themselves, while being a national party must also appeal to the state people's sentiment. You can't avoid your responsibilities to the state, and you can't ignore the sentiments of the people of the state simply on the ground you're a national party.
Do you see a role for yourself in Tamil Nadu politics going ahead?
I have today a minor role. I'm not in charge of the PCC. My job is in Delhi, in Parliament and elsewhere. I don't know. It's a question that should be put to the party.
We haven't heard you say much about the Aam Aadmi Party recently. How do you think they're performing, and do you think they have a future in India?
Well, if disruptive politics has a future, as it seems to have in many countries, including India, certainly the Aam Aadmi Party will also have a future. Aam Aadmi Party was a disruptive political force. And I welcomed that kind of disruption. But once you come to government, you must govern. Aam Aadmi Party has failed in governance. It still remains a disruptive force. It's disrupting politics in Punjab and in Goa, and I have no quarrel with that. But should they come to power in any state, they should govern that state better than the way they're governing Delhi.
There are continuing allegations of corruption on you, which BJP and maybe Dr. Subramaniam Swamy keep leveling all the time. What do you have to say about these continuous charges that they keep making?
I say nothing. It's all rubbish. I mean, if there are charges, they should go ahead and file a charge sheet. You just talk all the time.
And one last question, sir. So you said this most significant event in 2017 will be these 5 state elections. Now, if the BJP wins major states or wins most of these elections, they would say it's a referendum on demonetization. If they lose, the opposition would say it's a referendum on demonetization. Do you think these state elections are indeed a referendum?
No, I don't think demonetization is the sole issue on which these elections take place. Elections are not referendum. State elections are fought on a number of issues. I think the decisive election is Uttar Pradesh, and the next most important one is Punjab. I think it's now generally agreed that the BJP Akali combination in Punjab has bitten the dust. They've lost Punjab is what everybody says. I know. I don't know. It's now Uttar Pradesh. If the BJP doesn't form the government in Uttar Pradesh, that'll be a big blow to the BJP. It will be interpreted as a vote against demonetization, but I would say it's a vote against a number of issues, including demonetization.
And what do you think will be the outcome in each of the 5 states?
I don't know. I don't predict the outcome of elections, and you shouldn't either.
Thank you so much for speaking.
Thank you.